In a moment of desperation, there are times that we may lean on the wrong person. We might gravitate to those that seem more familiar, even if that sense of familiarity leads us in the wrong direction. Katie Ferguson spent years trying to get away from Adam Aviles, Jr., even staying with their 2 children and her mother in a shelter to escape the wrath of constant mental, physical, and verbal abuse that he would inflict on her time and time again. Finally escaping the abuse of Aviles and creating a fresh start in another state halfway across the country, she was finally free. But in an instant, she would begin to find herself in a situation that would push her towards the very thing she spent so many years running from. She once again found herself contacting the one man that caused her so much pain and despair. And in a blink, she would ignite a series of events that would lead her into the arms of the devil and send her family into a tailspin to find answers to what happened to their beloved Katie. This is the case into the disappearance of Katie Ferguson. And this is Gone in a Blink. Hello and Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Welcome to episode 7 of Gone in a Blink. I hope everyone had an amazing holiday. We are recording this actually on New Year's Eve. So this is the last hour and a half of 2023. So we're just bringing in the new year together.
There we go.
So today's episode is about missing mother of 2, Katie Ferguson. Katie's story is heartbreaking and one that really centers around domestic violence and the cycle of abuse that takes place before it usually gets broken. And typically, when it gets to the point where the victim is ready to finally leave, that can be the most critical and yet extremely dangerous time for them. So if you all are ready, let's jump right into it. 33-year-old Catherine Ferguson, also known as Katie Ferguson, had an extremely rocky relationship with her boyfriend Adam Aviles Jr. from the start. As stated on a GoFundMe page created by her brother Alan Ferguson and her mother Mona Hartling, Adam always showed abusive tendencies since the beginning of their relationship, and the couple had been on again, off again for the past 8 years. So during that time, their relationship was incredibly tumultuous. And starting a family and creating roots in the town of Cody, Wyoming, they share a 4-year-old daughter, Harlow, and 1-year-old daughter they named Evie. I think it's Evie. It could be Evie. So I apologize if I'm mispronouncing her name. Drugs were an issue in the relationship, and Aviles had a previous conviction back in 2017 for possession of heroin. Katie was fighting her own addiction to drugs and had managed to find sobriety, focusing on what mattered to her most, which was her 2 beautiful daughters. Aviles' controlling and manipulative nature became way too much to bear, and at one point she found herself living in a shelter with her 2 children and her mother in order to escape the torment and abuse that Aviles inflicted on her. On an episode of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, Katie's brother Alan told Nancy that Aviles would scream at Katie and had even told her that he wanted to dispose of her and take the kids. That was a direct quote from him. Katie's mother, Mona Hartling, eventually moved to Dothan, Alabama to be closer to her sister, and Katie soon followed, separating from Aviles and looking forward to a fresh start for her and her children.
It's actually pronounced Dothan.
Oh, okay.
Alabama.
Thank you for that. Okay, Dothan, Alabama is actually where they moved to be closer to her sister. And so Katie did follow, separating from Aviles and looking forward to a fresh start for her and her children. So Katie and her children spend the summer with Hartling in Alabama, But by the end of summer, Katie reaches out to Aviles, unfortunately, and tells him that the girls miss him and she really wants the kids to see their dad. She explains to her family that Adam has really grown up since they separated. And then Aviles heads out on a cross-country road trip to meet up with Katie and bring the family back to Wyoming. It was also claimed that Katie had unfortunately relapsed into drug use, and that played a big part in her decision to reach back out to Adam.
Now, before the trip back to Wyoming, Katie exchanged some very worrisome text messages between her and her stepmother, Angela Ferguson, expressing her fears about Aviles. And I'm going to read some of these for you now. So the first one, this is Katie talking. I don't want to be stranded on the side of the road with 2 kids. So in that one right there, I think that she's starting to have regrets and maybe even thinking he's gonna leave her. Second text message. I know you're probably thinking, well, you should have thought about it and planned about it, but Adam kept following us. The third text message. I kept seeing him everywhere. I couldn't stay in Cody. I'm not asking for a lot. I just need help. Fourth text message. We are so exhausted. We just want to get as far away from him as we can because we're tired of looking over our shoulders constantly or scared to take the girls anywhere.
So these text messages, they didn't make it very clear when I was doing research as to at what point these text messages were sent. But to me, it sounds like this was in the time frame that her and the kids were trying to escape Adam Aviles.
That's what it's looking like to me too. But I also see here that she's kind of going back and forth, almost like that she knows that she probably shouldn't be going with him, but then, kind of justifying it a little bit too.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like to me too.
So according to the criminal complaint filed by FBI during the trip, Aviles' Dodge Durango had been pulled over 3 various times in different states during their trip back to Wyoming. The first time Aviles was encountered by police was October 5th. Katie Ferguson was in the vehicle. The police body cam footage shows the couple sitting in the front seat of the vehicle parked in the parking lot with the passenger side door open. Katie is in the passenger seat folding clothes and sorting through snacks, and her 2 children are in the back seat. When asked by the officer what they were doing, Katie states that they are driving from Alabama to Wyoming and that her and Aviles had been separated but now are getting back together. Aviles began questioning the officer on whether or not Alabama is an ID state or whether or not the officer can legally ask for IDs. Katie seemed very tired. However, the officer had no reason to question them any further and he leaves.
How you guys doing?
Oh, okay.
What you guys up to?
Just cleaning up.
Yeah, trying to clean up, head over to Jonesboro.
Say it again?
Trying to clean up and head over to Jonesboro. How are you doing?
Okay. Well, I was just seeing a door open and looked suspicious, so I had to come check it out.
I know.
Yeah, we're hanging out. Yeah, we're going back.
So are you guys out of Wyoming, or?
Yeah, we're going back.
You going back?
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have a ID or anything?
Is Arkansas an ID state? Is Arkansas an ID state?
Say it again?
Is Arkansas an ID state?
Is it an ID
A
state?
must ID state?
Well, I just need to verify you.
I don't think we've done that. I don't think we're breaking the law.
Okay.
We got a call called on us. I don't think we've done that.
Well, I mean, it is a suspicious vehicle in a parking lot, so.
Call? Someone called in or you drove through?
I was driving right here and I seen you guys,
No one called in.
so.
Okay. Yeah, then I won't. If Arkansas isn't a must ID.
Do you have your ID on you?
I have no idea where my wallet is right this second.
What's your name?
Catherine?
Catherine.
Ferguson.
Catherine
Ferguson.
Ferguson?
Yeah.
Out of Wyoming? Live in this bed.
Hold on, Abby.
Okay. Live in this bed.
need to put very dirty stuff in the bag and scoot over.
Yeah, we would have been at a hotel, but Priceline.
Say it again.
We would have been at a hotel, but Priceline just went to the money, so he's been trying.
How long you guys been here in Sherman?
Oh, just one night, yeah. An officer.
You guys just passing through?
Yes, yeah.
Get back to one.
Yeah, an officer came to the dollar store.
So what are you guys doing over in this area? Am I like traveling this way? You guys family or?
Yeah. Well,
She
no.
was down in Alabama.
Yeah.
Say it again.
I was with my family, and then he came up.
Where's your family? In Jonesboro?
No. It's all the way way down towards Florida and stuff. And his I took the girls for a while, and we separated for a while, and then we came back together. So he drove down to see me, and we decided just to get back together and take care of the girls. So.
Gotcha.
This is just the way from Cody, Washington.
Okay.
Alabama.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be here.
All right.
I can't finish passengers.
All right.
So the next time police encountered Aviles' vehicle was on October 9th, and Ferguson was not inside the vehicle. Body cam footage captured a projectile hole in the passenger side door that was covered with duct tape over the entrance and exit of the hole. When investigators went back through and compared footage, they noticed that the hole was not there during the first encounter just days before. Katie has not been seen or heard from since. Her family reported her missing on November 2nd to police in Cody, Wyoming. Adam Aviles had returned back home in Wyoming and been there for weeks, and yet never reported Katie missing. It was discovered by her grandmother upon returning to Wyoming that 1-year-old Evie had a big burn on her wrist and shoulder. When asked what happened, her 4-year-old sister, Harlow, said the baby had fallen into the campfire. In an interview with law enforcement, Katie's daughter, Harlow, stated that she witnessed her father accidentally hurting, so quote-unquote accidentally hurting, her mother, according to the criminal complaint. According to the court documents, Aviles spoke to police when questioned and stated that Katie was not with him or his 2 daughters for the rest of the trip because when they stopped in Arkansas, she allegedly went on a drug run and he had not heard from her since. A criminal complaint filed states that Aviles stated that Katie is not missing, but that instead she wanted to lose contact with her mother. Aviles had told Katie's mother, Mona Hartling, that Katie had left him and the children.
The complaint also states that on November 4th, Mr. Aviles' Dodge Durango was found dumped in the Oregon Basin area near Cody, Wyoming. It was found with trash bags piled high on the inside. And when the vehicle was opened up by the sheriff's department, it was determined that they could smell the odor of old, rotted blood coming from inside the car. Initially, police discovered that the vehicle was missing its passenger seat and that there were several Clorox wipes lying around. A Glock pistol magazine with loaded ammunition had allegedly been found in the center console, and 3 fired projectiles around the passenger door, as well as interior moldings with dried blood streaks found stuffed inside the trash bags. Let me just say, if that is not the biggest, most humongous red flag ever, I don't know what is.
That is a very big red flag. It's got me wondering what was the police response to that.
Well, while police were still assisting the scene where the vehicle was found, the complaint states that Mr. Aviles appeared out of nowhere with a gas can, claiming the car had run out of gas. So, guessing he didn't expect to see officers rifling through his vehicle at that point.
I should say not.
Well, so on November 21st, Adam Aviles was arraigned, but not for what you think.
So not for the Clorox wipes, the trash bag, the him coming back with a gas can, none of that?
None of that, but I think they are just collecting, they have to have so much to be able to prove to a jury when and if this goes to trial that he did something with Katie Ferguson, and it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. There can be zero doubt.
So more concrete proof.
Okay, so on November 21st, Adam Aviles was arraigned for illegal possession of ammunition, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, because he is a felon and he has ammunition, and that's enough to get him arrested, which is, I think they're taking baby steps with this.
Right.
So Aviles has pled not guilty, of course, to the charges, and his trial has been set for January 22nd, 2024. He will remain in custody until his trial date, and if convicted, he could face up to 15 years in prison with 3 years of supervised release and a fine of up to $250,000. This is just for the ammunition charge. Investigators are still waiting on the results of DNA found on the clothing and other items inside the car, as well as the blood. And as of right now, in the disappearance of Katie Ferguson, he has not been charged with that just yet. Katie's children are now staying currently with their paternal grandmother, and a GoFundMe has been set up by Katie's mother, Mona Hartling, and her brother, Alan Ferguson. And we will definitely post that link on our social media pages. So I just think this whole thing saddens me. And I've heard this compared to other cases. Well, one in particular, the Gabby Petito case. Very, very similar to that. They're on a cross-country road trip, and something along the way happens. I don't know if they got into a fight. I don't know exactly what happened, but the 4-year-old said that, she came back and she's telling her grandparents that Daddy accidentally hurt Mommy.
Well, and that's going to be as pure as you can get right there from a 4-year-old's perspective, that she obviously saw something happen to her mom. I guess something else that kind of comes to mind to me now, the whole reasoning that I even know how to pronounce Dothan, Alabama, is because I spent some time there. But
hey, at least you know how to pronounce it, because I'm totally butchering this poor town, the name of this poor town. So
I think it's easy to do with some of these towns, though. So, but I guess what kind of caught my eye too is that from their first encounter was October 5th. And, they found them in a parking lot. She was folding clothes. And then their next encounter was October 9th. Honestly, Dothan, Alabama to Wyoming, I guess depending on how many hours you're driving per day, should not take 4+ days to get there. So that's where I don't know, I'm just kind of stuck with that too. And maybe we grew up in a family where we're just like, no, you guys have scheduled pee time where we are driving all the way through. But
I think maybe they took their time, but then at what point, I don't mean to jump in to the theory that he did something to Katie, but all of the evidence is right there. So I'm not gonna say that he did it because he hasn't been tried and convicted, but just from an outsider's view, I'm just saying the red flags are all there.
Well, absolutely. But, I guess to play devil's advocate a little bit, that we have her, and yes, no, Heather, I agree with you, all the red flags. But I also want to, I guess, point out she was already starting to get back into drugs, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So for him to say that she was going to go on a drug run, unfortunately, may not be that far-fetched.
It may not. That could have possibly played a part in it. I guess where I'm at with that, though, is... So he says she went on a drug run. I believe it was in Arkansas. So what, you just went on and left her? That's where I'm at. She went on a drug run. She never came back, so you just took off. But then she tells Katie's family that Katie wanted to lose contact with her mother, and she wanted to leave him and the children. Now... him, yeah. She probably wanted to lose contact with him, but he's made comments before about wanting to, quote, dispose of her body, to dispose of her and take the children. And according to her family, the whole 8 years of their relationship was just nonstop abuse. And she had been living in a shelter with her mother was staying with her. And then her mother decided that she was going to move to Alabama to be closer to her sister, to Mona Hartling's sister, is what I gathered. And then Katie wanted to start fresh for her children, and she later followed. But I don't know. I mean, you've got a lot of things piling up against this guy, starting with, like I mentioned, the comments that were made, and then he's coming back to Wyoming with her and the children, and she's seen on body cam footage being with him, and no bullet hole, mind you, no bullet hole was captured on that body cam footage. But then a few days later, he's encountered again by police, and she's not with him, but I'll be damned, there's a bullet hole taped up in the passenger side door, which is a little weird. And it's just, I don't know. And then he gets back to Cody, Wyoming. He gets back, and for weeks, he doesn't even report her missing, because his claims are, well, he didn't think she was missing. She went on a drug run. She just never came back. I'm not buying it.
Well, and to a certain extent, I'm not buying it either. I mean, especially you had suspicion there as well, as he's asking the police if, I'm guessing that they were in Alabama at the time when he asked if that was a no ID state. That, I mean,
he didn't want to show his ID.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So just all these red flags are just popping up. Now, I guess I keep thinking as well as like where her mind was to try to get back together with him, right? That, and all I can think of, she has 2 daughters by this man. You have a sense, as a mother, of wanting your family to stay together. That's no matter what. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the ultimate dream. When a family's been torn apart, even for like little kids, for their parents to get back together. But that's what I wonder if Katie had a sense of that as well, that she wanted her kids to know their father and to kind of be, since she was clean for the most part, it sounded like she was starting to get back into drugs, unfortunately. Like that was the dream, to have this happy family.
I think so. And I think that in situations like that, you have good times, probably few and far between, but you have good times, but the bad outweighs the good. And so when it gets like that, and in their case, they had been separated, you start to think about the good, and you kind of slowly let the bad fade away a little bit. And if you mix that with the fact that, yes, they had 2 children together, I think that might have played a big part in getting her to reach out to him again. And she stated to her family that he had changed. I don't put much stock into that, but maybe she just wanted him to so bad, and she knew that her family wasn't happy that she was going back to him, and she knew that. And so maybe by just, that was kind of her way of making the situation a little lighter.
No, I know exactly what you mean. That she wanted to give it a try, I bet, for this happy family, and very likely that it could have cost her life. At this point, I feel the worst for the children. Working with children a lot, so the 4-year-old, that's going to be coming out in all different kinds of ways, especially if the dad wasn't there a whole lot, and it was mainly mom that was her caregiver, and now mom's gone. She's going to be sad, but then it's going to come out in other ways too. So I definitely, from his trial, I'd be interested in an update to see where we're at.
I would definitely be interested in that. And also, when the DNA evidence comes back, are they going to have enough to convict him? If, in fact, he did do something with her, she has not been found. So there is not definitive proof that she is deceased. And I hope and pray with everything in me that she is not and that she is okay. But her family, from the research that I have found, they're hopeful, but I think they kind of know, they're preparing themselves for the absolute worst. And I definitely feel for them. So if you have any information on the whereabouts of Catherine Ferguson, or have any information that you feel would be helpful in this case at all, please contact the Park County Sheriff's Office at area code 307-527-8700. Thank you for listening to another episode of Gone in a Blink. If you like our show, please consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And as always, we love to hear from you, so please follow us on Facebook at Gone in a Blink Podcast, or on Instagram at Gone in a Blink Pod, or visit our website at Gone in a Blink at buzzsprout.com. And we now have a YouTube channel. It's not us on video, but you can definitely listen to the podcast via YouTube, which is a new addition.
That is so exciting. When Heather first told me that we were getting a YouTube channel, I gotta tell you, I was a little like, oh, I have a face for radio, not necessarily for video. But then she said, I don't have to show my face. So I'm like, woohoo!
Don't have to show your face. If you would like to listen to us on YouTube, that is Gone in a Blink Podcast at Gone in a Blink. And if you'd like to email us, also, we'd love to hear from you and any ideas that you might have for a show or episode we could do. You can definitely reach us at goneinablinkpod@gmail.com. And we will be creating a TikTok, which might have behind the scenes video of us actually recording, so that might be interesting.
Is that why you're just telling me this now?
Yeah, I'd like to let you know this along with the listeners. So
surprise.
More to come on that. That is something that is in the works. So and last but not least, remember, stay safe, stay smart, and try not to blink.